as I mentioned in the first one we did lots of great, amazing stuff, and I'm pleased to be here with you. Brian Bonneau, our development manager, is also here in the conference room with me, and Brian was volunteered by me to handle all of the chat questions so I can focus on getting through our slide presentation. So with that, let's get started. A quick review shows that we updated 7 functional areas: accounts payable, electronic payments, inventory planning, order entry, purchasing, radio frequency, and cross applications. We also updated the A+ web user interface and the online documentation that will cover order entry and purchasing. Order entry projects include pricing structure extended to the ship-to level, pass, fax, and email pack list fields to the A+ files, expand comment print options to special order options, update sales order items cost when using special order change requests, add unit of measure to customer order history in order entry, separate pick list and pack list default settings, MSDS changes for SDS requirements, do not prompt for an end order delete reason code, special order change request prompt to delete order when deleting the last item, add warning of duplicate item number in order entry, order entry restricted items messages. Purchasing projects include allow reprint of closed purchase orders with an action authority, allow the user to exit PO entry with approval code problems, notify the user when a vendor item contract exists during suggested orders maintenance, and display vendor cost for vendor item information screen through item inquiry. With that, let's jump right into order entry. Pricing structure expanded to the customer ship-to level. Our business case: customer pricing of sales order items, is mostly determined based on the customer's pricing fields, the price discount code, the price list, and the contract code. But the sales order for a customer can have different pricing depending on a ship-to location, based on its distance from the warehouse or a specific area of the state, or totally out of state. Our solution: we extended the OE price calculation logic by adding the price discount code, the price list, and the contract code to the customer ship-to. This is the customer ship-to maintenance 2 screen. You can see the 3 new fields: price discount code, price list, and contract code. We also add the fields to the ship-to listing, and we are capturing the customer ship-to audit activity for these 3 changes. These price fields will override corresponding customer level pricing fields when used in price calculations when they are not blank. This is the second order header screen, pricing fields. The values displayed here are the 3 that we've defaulted in now from the ship-to master. Order header screen. When the user selects a different ship-to, the pricing fields might change. In this case, a warning message will be displayed to inform the user. Remember that in this case, the program logic will follow the existing logic used when pricing fields are changed by a user on the second order header screen. Prices of new items added will reflect any new pricing fields. Prices on items previously added to this order will not be recalculated. Point of sale header screen. The default order price discount code, price list, and contract code are now defined by the customer settings unless they are overridden by the ship-to level. On the point of sale customer search screen, when the user selects a different ship-to by searching for it or selecting it, the pricing fields might change. In this case, a warning message will be displayed to inform the user. Again, similar logic, any items added previously will have their existing pricing, while new items will have pricing based on the new pricing fields. POS shipping address screen. When the user selects a different ship to, pricing fields may change. In this case, a warning message will also be displayed to inform the user at the bottom of this screen as well. Item price labels on the IA report menu. We added the selection of the ship to number field. If a valid customer ship to number is entered, the label prices will reflect the values of price discount code, price list, and contract code from the ship to record if these values override the value of the corresponding customer pricing field. And because there's a ship to, you needed to search, so we added the ship to F6 key to help you find the appropriate customer ship to. Special order change requests change drop ship screen. When the user requests sales orders with ship to changes, pricing fields might change, and this can potentially affect the sales order's pricing fields later when the update is completed. We will, again, inform the user with a warning message. And because we have new fields, we had to update a couple of files, and there they are for you. Pass fax and email pack list fields to A+ files. The business case surrounding this enhancement basically centers around the need for additional changes to support a project from version 10.0.01. We added the fax and email pack list flags from the customer ship to level to the end order screen during shipping confirmation at version 10.0.01. However, any user changes to these values during order entry were not being retained in A+ files to be passed forward into later stages of the order process, such as within shipping confirmation itself, as well as processing including ship confirmation of multiple orders or history orders, etc. Based on your feedback, this was important stuff to know, and we needed to save these fields and any override data, so we did. The inclusion of the customer ship to based fax and email flags on the end order screen are now retained through all phases of enter change and ship orders. The implementation of the residual file changes introduced with this enhancement will not only allow the order to retain its flag values during order entry shipping, but can also be used through multiple ship, confirm multiple orders, or other applicable order entry processes performed later. I've inserted this slide as a reference to understand and revisit the initial changes added at 10.0.01 and to explain what was lacking, which pushed us to implement these residual changes. So you see the three fields that I highlighted and pointed the arrow to. The initial enhancement allowed you to select them and process accordingly, but we didn't save those values. So those are the values that now we are going to save in redisplay for you. The decision to include the fields in these files to now store the fax and email pack list flag was basically made after determining that they needed to be there. So here's all of the files that were changed and that are now being updated to include the values for those files, for those fields, sorry. Expand comment print options to special order options. The business case surrounding this enhancement, again, centers around the need for the addition of some residual changes that were not initially added at version 10.01. Distribution A+ order and line comment print codes expansion did not include related functionality available in special order company option maintenance for print codes. So we went back and added the additional print codes and expanded the levels into special order company options maintenance, so they're available through special order processing. In order to refresh your memory, this slide is a quick reminder of the print code changes of the original print codes. A blank, print comments on all documents. An X, don't print it on any. P, print it only on a pick list. An I, print it on the pack list. An invoice, an acknowledgement when the acknowledgement is either a sales order or a quote. The new print codes we added: K, printed only on a pack. Q, printed on a quote acknowledgement only. A, printed on an order acknowledgement only. B, printed on a quote or order acknowledgement. We don't wish on an invoice. The initial 4 settings were based on the print codes available prior to 10.01. To briefly explain, when special order or line comments are entered during order entry, the order entry print code assigned to each comment will essentially link it to all, none, or a specific order entry document. Based on the order entry print code assigned to the comment, the special order company settings will now be used to pull the comments into a specific purchase order related area if the settings are set to yes. Since additional document settings are now included in this option, the previous wording on line 1, 2, 3, 4, the previous wording of the include pick invoice comment setting has now been changed to display as include all print comments. The include pack only comment setting on the bottom of the screen is the first of 5 new additional expanded print option settings that will continue on to the next screen. The remaining settings displayed on this screen will expand the print option settings for order comments. Similar to the pre-existing print options, each of the PO print code values will continue to be set to print on either the PO list or all of the above. The same settings will be available for line comment screens that follow this screen, which I did not include because they're the same screens with a different title. How are these special order print code settings used? Well, an additional note here. During the design, it was discovered that there was a pre-existing oops when checking the PO print code to determine when comments should display on the requisition edit list. And basically, it wasn't quite working correctly. So we fixed it, so now it's working correctly. So if it looks different when you print it, well, it's because it's better than it was. So, but based on the settings now, we're going to go out, grab the comments, and bring them across to special orders and through to the purchase order appropriately. Update sales order items cost when using special order change requests. Our business case. While performing a special order change request, if the requisition or purchase order reflected a cost change by the vendor, the item-related costs on the sales order are not being updated. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the CSR typically would need to update the cost manually to be able to evaluate the impact of those cost changes on the item gross margin and the order's overall gross margin. Additionally, the CSR may need to inform the customer of such price changes, which may result in the item's cancellation, or sadly, the entire order may be canceled. Our solution, we updated or are adjusting the order entry related costs automatically now when the cost is changed through the special order change request process. This will then notify the CSR in advance about the cost and profit changes so that they can work appropriately with management and the customer to provide the correct information. So while you're in the special order change request process, when a cost change is stored and closed, the item-related costs on the sales order are adjusted as needed to reflect cost and profit changes. Simultaneous quantity changes are sequenced automatically before the cost change for the correct calculation of the extended value. What does that mean? It means that when you've got 5 or 6 fields and they change all of the values, we're updating the quantity change first. So that is, we then grab the quantity to multiply it by the cost to get your extended value. We're using the right quantity to calculate your extended value. And the min-max gross margin check is performed to determine if the sales order should now be placed on gross margin hold. Add unit of measure to customer order history in order entry. Our business case. Customer order history is very good for helping a customer order the same item as last time. However, the screen does not display the quantity and the unit of measure in which they originally placed the order. So if you're using customer ordering units of measure, they can order it the way they want. They can order boxes and you can flip it and change it to cases. But if they try to order boxes and you're looking for it on that search screen, you couldn't see boxes, you could only see cases. So we fixed it. We added the unit of measure, first of all, because that wasn't there, and then we added a toggle to show you the difference between the customer and, so there's the original screen, and you can see the pop-up. When you press the function key, it changes now to the customer measure will convert accordingly. Heard from you. Users to control pack list settings separately from pick list settings within order entry option maintenance, but allow you to individually set pick and pack settings separately and differently. So here's the screen, maintain order entry options. The previously unified pick list and pack list settings from within order entry options have been separated individual settings, as you can see, allowing you to now set them separately when necessary. There is no fixed program tied to this 10.02 enhancement that will automatically assign these to the option. What we're doing is we come into order entry options, we will fill them in as default, allowing you to change them and then save them appropriately. Through all of the processing, if the pack list values are blank, the program will simply come back and grab pick list options as it always did. So now you have the headings, the default output queue, the default sequence, print prices, and the number to print for replaced item values separately. Prior to this enhancement, the output queue hierarchy in which the pack list would be generated could be either an overridden output queue specified in output queue overrides maintenance, or the default queue defined for the user. Now with this added functionality, the default setting of this pack list output queue can also be set within OE options. If this OE setting for default pack list output queue is not blank and is valid, it will be used prior to the default output queue for the user unless an overridden output queue was specified for the warehouse and users. SDS requirements updates. This is the largest of all of the projects for A+ 10.02. SDS requirements updates. Just to let you know, there are 39 slides just for the SDS project. Are you ready? Business case. Some A+ customers are subject to new OSHA, which is Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and DOT, Department of Transportation regulations regarding safety data sheets and the handling and processing of hazardous materials. The main requirements needed are to provide additional functionality in Distribution A+, starting with the ability to maintain and store OSHA DOT required data necessary for proper labeling of regulated items. 2, the ability to generate an OSHA DOT compliant shipping papers document to accompany shipments of goods that include regulated items. Our solution, the following based on the Hazardous Communications Standard requirements, replace all references of NSDS with SDS, because apparently that M was a troublemaker, so we can't be there anymore. Number 2, add new, and we improve the current hazmat codes to satisfy new requirements for proper hazardous material descriptions. There are hazardous classes, messages, case numbers, pictograms, word number, and various hazmat flags. Use can be used for any additional or custom hazmat properties that we didn't find. Number 3, add new required item hazmat fields and the ability to assign new hazmat codes to the items. Number 4, improve and expand Item Master Hazardous Material Information Screen. Number 5, warehouse maintenance. We added new fields, hazmat emergency contact name and contract number. Number 6, generate a new OSHA DOT compliant shipping papers document to accompany shipments of goods that include regulated items. Number 7, provide the ability to reprint the new OSHA DOT compliant shipping papers document. Number 8, application action authority to grant access to item master OSHA DOT fields has been authorized users only. So where do we start? Let's start system options maintenance screen. We always had a weight field, and now it has a name, and you get to pick it. Weight measure description has been added. The default value is pounds because that's kind of the way we always talked about what the weight was. Warehouse numbers and maintenance. This is the warehouse address contact screen. We added the emergency contact name, the emergency contract number, and we increased the minimum number of case numbers to 12 from 6. It's important to understand that the contact name may actually be the name of the company that you have hired to handle any hazmat emergencies that may arise. And this would then be their phone number and not yours. Hazardous pictogram maintenance is brand new. Pictogram maintenance is the standard format for the add change of a specific code. And this one is to define the pictogram codes that you will need for your merchandise deliveries. The codes are determined by the DOT, and you will identify the ones that you need. And there is a listing option for you as well. Pictogram codes are added to the system control file. I will take a second and tell you that I learned more about transportation than I ever thought I was going to need to know in my life, learning how to test this project. It was fun. Number will be available now as a question mark window field. For you techies, these values are saved in a new file, Hazardous DOT standard listing for this maintenance option. And this is what the screen looks like. Take a good second, look at it. So now we're going to talk about the data fields. So they have a 6-position DOT number that's usually assigned to the DOT hazardous material items shipping from your warehouses. The DOT number is a 4-digit number, and it's normally preceded by NA, which means North America, or UN, which means United Nations. Proper shipping name. The proper shipping name of this DOT number. Symbol. The DOT symbols indicate unique hazmat shipping description requirements for shipping papers. The symbols are a plus sign, an A, which means aircraft, a D, which means domestic travel, G, which means it needs more technical information, an I is international transport, and a W means it's transported by vessel. There's a type field which will determine the placement of the shipping name. Is it basic or other description fields on the shipping papers? And there are 2 user fields just in case. Knowing that many of you may have these DOT number fields filled in, we are taking those values and creating the new hazardous DOT number file. So we're bringing in all of the information that you have. We're filling it in with logical default values to give you a head start. Hazardous case number maintenance. The case number field now allows for alphanumeric values to provide appropriate formatting of those numbers. We also added the reportable quantity field to identify when printing of this component is required on the DOT shipping papers. For you techies, these values are saved in the hazardous case file, ITCAS. The existing listing was also updated to include the existing information. Hazardous message code maintenance screen. We added this field here to help identify what message or a precautionary message. And we updated the listing to include the additional information. Hazardous class codes can now have up to 6 pictogram codes assigned. The existing listing was updated to include the pictograms that you tagged. Item Master Maintenance Screen 2. This screen has some minimal but big impact changes. MSDS labeling has been changed to SDS labeling. The DOT regulated yes/no is now allowed regardless of the SDS date field, where previously they were linked together. The big change is that both of these fields are now protected by that new application action authority that I mentioned, allow maintenance of transport hazmat information. If the user is not authorized, they cannot change the hazmat screens, will not even display to them. And here's the sample of the updated screen. The big update is that M, we made it go away. Item Master Maintenance Hazardous Material Screen. This is the original hazmat screen. There are lots of changes here. First, the screen displays for items with either an SDS date or items that are DOT tracking. Remember, they're not tied together anymore. The DOT number has been moved to the top of the screen and is now that predefined value as we discussed earlier. The case numbers are now alphanumeric and are question mark fields. The F10 max weight and F10 min weight toggle key to switch between maintaining min or max weight of fields of case numbers. Access to this screen is based on the new application action authority to maintain transport hazmat fields. And then we added some new fields. Transport mode, property of the shipping name that identifies the proper shipping name based on the shipping mode selected. Pictogram, assign up to 6 pictograms to this item. Signal word, the level of severity of hazard of this item. Can be expected values are danger or warning. ID number, it's the optional 4-digit number of the hazard class code. max percent by weight identifies the maximum percent by weight of the hazardous chemical component for a corresponding case number. And we added some new function keys. F2 classes displays the hazmat classes screen. F4 messages displays the hazmat messages screen. F5 cases takes us to the case numbers screen. F6 pictogram signals takes us to the pictogram signal screen. And F11 user fields takes us to the user-defined fields screens. Okay, so here's a visual. In purple, we have changes. Transport mode, pictogram 1 displays, use the F6 key to go enter more, signal word, and the ID number. Orange are changes. Case numbers, we're showing you the first 6. Use the F5 key to add more. The min percent by weight, use F10 to see the max percent by weight. And in green are the new function keys, and the little slide up that you had are the ones that display when you press the more key. We have F2 classes, F4 messages, F5 case numbers, F6 pictograms, and F11 user fields. But wait, there's more. I'm going to take you through each of the new screens that we added. The first one is the hazardous classes screen. This one displays when you press F2 classes. It allows the entry of 12 hazard classes for the selected item. Each class has a required yes-no print selection criteria for pick list, pack list, invoice, carrier inquiry, and OSHA reporting. There's an optional ID field. F2 will save the class data, and F2 is your favorite bailout. Back me up. This is the screen sample for the first of the new screens, the hazardous classes screen. It's important to note some processing logic here. The easiest way to explain this, and you will definitely need to explain this to your users, think of all these new screens as toggle screens. You are going to toggle from the main hazardous material screen that you all know and love to the new screens for the data. The data that's entered here is saved to a work file when you press the F2 min classes. So the F2 min classes becomes a toggle key from that first hazardous material screen to this one and then back again. You press the F2 min classes to get here, and you'll press F2 min classes to save this data snapshot and continue. F12 return is our favorite get me out of here escape button. When all the data is entered on all the subsidiary toggle screens and you press enter on the main hazardous material screen, the item master file fields will all be updated then with the saved data. So here on this screen you've got your 12 hazard class codes. You can see the spyglass for the question mark window. It brings back the description. The ID column is optional, and then you are required to fill in the appropriate yes, no for printing the hazard class code on the shipping papers. Hazard messages screen is next. This one displays from the F4 messages key. It allows entry of 12 hazard messages for the selected item. Each hazard class has the same required yes-no print selection for pick, pack, invoice, carrier inquiry, and OSHA required labeling. Optional ID field in the F4 save message data or F12 return. Get me out of here. This screen sample is for those hazard message codes. Toggle here with the F4 min messages and F4 back to save the data snapshot. We've got the question mark window. It shows you back the description that you picked. And as you can see, I grabbed this screenshot before I completed all of my yes, no options because there's no yes, no's in that field, I just decided. Hazardous case number screen displays from F5 case numbers. The first 6 case numbers from the original hazard material screen display, and there are 6 additional case number fields available if you need them. A reminder that they are now alphanumeric and question markable. The F10% of weight print yes, no flag. We have a toggle within a toggle that you'll see momentarily. Because of the width of the data fields that we needed, you're going to have your weight, min-max, percent fields, or the yes, no print fields, and you'll toggle back and forth to fill in all of your data. F5, save case numbers, or F12, return and no update. So here's your original view with your min-max percents, and as the overlay comes up, you can see that the right side of the screen has been overlaid with your yes, no fields. So F10 will take you back to the weights, F10 back to your yes, no print flags, and when you're done, your F5 min saves your data for update. Hazardous pictogram and signal screen displays from pictograms of signals. You can have 8 pictograms for the selected item. The first one is considered the primary. It allows selection of 2 signal words for the selected item. Your pictogram has your 5 print code flags, yes, no. F6 is your toggle, save it, take me back, is F12. So there's your 8 pictograms and your 3 signal words with your yes, no prompt fields. Hazardous user field screen displays from F11 user fields, allows entry for 12 user fields for the selected item, and each user field has those required yes, no print selection fields. The user fields will be used for additional specific, unique criteria to you, your customers, your items, things that aren't there yet. So this gives you several levels of additional information that you can include on your paperwork in shipping documents. Now we're going to jump into the carrier inquiry. When you select the carrier inquiry, there's a new link that goes to an additional DOT shipping papers inquiry. We expanded the hazardous materials process for printing shipping papers, and we added a preview and edit functionality within the shipping papers inquiry. So this one's easy. DOT shipping papers link. And when you press that link, this is the DOT shipping papers inquiry screen. And the body of the screen shows the customer number and the ship to. That will then toggle to the customer name. It shows the last date and time that toggles to the original date and time that the order was entered or maintained. The SP ID is a control number used for organizing what orders are being included in a set of shipping papers. You have control over how long to keep that information. A few days usually, depending on your delivery schedules, should work for most of you. So you create your own routine for when somebody will go in and purge the data in the shipping papers files. DOT shipping papers inquiry item selection screen displays from the F17 preview key. You have functionality to mark or unmark an item or all items. If you've viewed and you know everything's right, you can simply select the items and print the shipping papers for those that need it. And if you want to select items and go look, in the first few times I encourage you to do that because there's lots of new stuff. F17 will allow you to go preview and verify that all the hazmat information is accurate. The DOT shipping papers header preview screen. Review the customer ship to information, emergency contact data, and the standard message of certification. F4 edit opens some of the fields for real-time edits before the shipping papers are printed. You can maintain transport mode, emergency information, and message of certification. When you're done updating the information, press Enter, and it will take you back to the view mode. DOT shipping papers item preview screen. F2 displays the header and returns back to the DOT shipping papers preview screen. F4, edit, opens some fields for real-time edits. And F14 says, all right, I'm done. Go ahead, print the shipping papers. Everything I see in the way I see it is correct. And that's the key. If what you see is not correct, you want to go run the edit, because what you see is what's going to print on your shipping papers. Edit opens the quantity, unit of measure, hazardous material print code, basic description, weight. The F4 key saves it. The F5 key that says undo will save your butt if you mess it up. F13 item maintenance and F13 DOT maintenance are available based on menu option security. So if something is not correct, you can fix it here on this screen for this order, and you can then jump into Item Master Maintenance or DOT Maintenance and fix the original incorrect information so it's right the next time. DOT shipping papers. This is the new OSHA DOT compliant format of this document. Is designed for you and for us. All the information we just previewed is presented exactly as you saw it in the preview, so it's a good idea, as I mentioned, to take a peek before you print it, or else you might have to then come back and fix it later in a rush and reprint the shipping papers while somebody's yelling at you because the document's wrong and they're trying to put a box on a truck. This is the original hazmat shipping papers, and it has been updated with all the additional information for hazardous material tracking that we added throughout this project. And last but not least for this project, the original hazmat shipping papers weight summary was updated with the additional information for hazardous material. And you can see here over on the right under the section break line, that we tested also with a label of POU for pounds in addition to the default labels of LBS. Well, you know, just because we could. Phew, that one's done. And code. Business case. Please don't make me put in a delete reason code when I'm deleting a sales order that only contains comments. Okay, we can do that for you. So now, on the end order screen, within Enter, Change, and Delete Orders, we added a check to determine if there are items or special charges. If the value of the total order amount, including items of special charges, is 0, we will delete the order without prompting for a delete reason code. Special order change request, delete an order with no items. As you know, there are two components of the special order change request process, the purchasing side component and the order entry side component. This enhancement will focus on the order entry side, and specifically when a change request is performed to essentially leave the sales order with no more actual line items. The user wanted to be aware that an open order was stranded out there that may contain only comments or charges. The key to this prompt is the actual closing of the request, not just approving and returning out of the change request. Closing can be done at the same time as approving, or it can be done later if re-entering an approved change request and then selecting to close it. Additional notes here. The A+ prompt window is an existing program that can be sent unique screen values in order to create custom prompt situations. And for this project, there are a few different values that will display. Warning, warning, sales order with no line items. The message line might say the remaining sales order contains comments only, the remaining sales order contains charges only, or the remaining sales order contains comments and charges only. Do you want to delete the entire sales order? Yes or no? Or if the sales order is associated with a warehouse transfer, the message is warning, transfer order with no line items, and message 1, the related transfer order contains comments only. When the Save Deleted Ordered settings within company level OE options is set to yes, and the remaining sales order is deleted, the remaining sales order information will also get written to the deleted orders header and detail files, if applicable. This will enable the user to view the details of that order via the deleted orders inquiry, which is what I'm showing you here, and possibly duplicate that order. Sorry about that, wrong key. In this deleted orders inquiry example, the special order line A910 was deleted through the special order change request. Upon closing that request, the user was prompted to remove the remaining non-line items. When accepted, that deleted information was also written to the deleted orders file. Add duplicate item number warning in order entry. Our business case. In order entry, items can be duplicated in one of two ways. Customer service may accidentally enter the line item twice, especially if you type as badly as I do. A customer may accidentally send us an order with the same item on it twice. Our solution for you: to issue a warning message when a line item is already on an order to avoid accidental duplication on orders. The item entry screen displays with the message that the item already exists on the order. If it is correct to have it twice, press enter again to add it to the order and display the item review screen. If it is not correct, press F12 to clear the data from the item entry screen and begin again. And here is the tailoring option, order entry options, maintenance, to determine if this warning message is important to you for your customer service staff. Order entry restricted items messages. Our business case. When attempting to place an order for a restricted item that the customer is not authorized to purchase, the standard message, hey, you can't buy this, message appears. While this functionally prevents the sale of the restricted item, the message does not provide enough information to the customer service rep. Yeah, but why? So to tell them why, we expanded the restriction code detail on the item review screen or the offline order entry report with regards to the specific code that's causing the restriction. Here you can see the restriction code added directly under the grid with the restriction code that is preventing this item from being added to the sales order. Next up, purchasing. Reprint purchase orders from history. The business case. Customers needed the ability and the capability to reprint a copy of a purchase order in history. Our solution: we're providing the ability to reprint a copy of a purchase order or purchase orders from history with a choice of suitable output methods: print, fax, or email. We're adding this functionality to the PO inquiry and to the print purchase order options. We've added a new application action authority to grant access to the new functionality only to authorized users. This is the print purchase order screen. Authorized users can now reprint purchase orders from history. The reprint field and the new from history field must both be set to yes. Print purchase orders from history must be selected in one of two ways: using the selection criteria on the screen to limit purchase orders from history, or using a new function key, History PO List, to create a list of specific purchase orders from history. Notice that the purchase order list overrides any from to selection criteria. This is the new reprint history purchase order list. You can key in the individual purchase orders to create a list of the specific purchase orders to be reprinted. When the user presses Enter selected and using selection criteria on the screen, or purchase order list will create the number of purchase orders. The number of those history purchase orders that were selected is displayed for review. The user must select Confirm to accept and continue with reprint. If the value is not correct, you can correct the From To selection data or return to the list screen to reselect it and press Enter again to revalidate. The last thing you want to do is reprint 200 purchase orders when you were expecting 3. Reprint History Purchase Order Output Options screen. This new screen is used to select, based on the purpose of the reprint, an appropriate output option for the reprinting of the purchase orders from history. The user can choose one of 2 output methods. Vendor PO output method, the reprint will be generated using each purchase order's vendor-specific PO output options. Custom output method, the reprint will be generating using the same output options, either print or fax or email selected here below, for all purchase orders regardless of the vendor output options. From the purchase order inquiry and purchase order screen, if you're talking with the vendor and they indicate that they need another copy for their files because they can't find the one that you previously sent them, you can reprint one from within the purchase order inquiry. Authorized users can now reprint the history purchase order. The user will use a new function key for reprint. The reprint history order purchase order options screen that we just viewed will be displayed where they can select the appropriate reprint options. And here's your application action authority. At the system level, allow reprint of history purchase orders. Allow exit PO changes with approval code conflicts. Business case. Somebody goes in, makes a change to an approved purchase out order, but then they can't because their level is not approved. And if they were allowed to do it, we're losing track of the original user who approved the purchase order. So we've gone in and we've done some housework because basically the user was stuck. So we tried to fix that for you. Our solution, we defined an override password for an approval code and a flag whether the overriding of the approved purchase order will validate the PO amount against the maximum approval amount defined for the approval code. We're going to record purchasing activity when the approval code on an approved PO is changed. And we're providing the entry of the override password for an approval code on the end rec purchase order screen. This is approval code maintenance. We added those 2 new fields, override password and do I want to validate the approval amount? Yes, no, or blank. End PO changes screen. There's a new override password flag field on the end screen. This field will only display on the change of an existing purchase order when the approval code is not valid for your user ID. Error message is presented to a user who is modifying an approved purchase order and the existing approval code level, the code and level are not theirs. When this happens, the new approval code can be entered. So possibly a supervisor can be called to key an override approval code and an override password. If it matches the password defined for the approval code, the override approval code that is, the approval code will be in override mode and the status will show as OBR, plus the approval code description will be written to to the file, and the password field, of course, will be hidden. The validate approval amount flag will be used to determine if the purchase order can be reapproved. If there's an approval code with no override password defined, then there is no override approval process allowed. And this view shows the acceptance of the override approval process, in the star OBR explain that to the user. Notify user when a vendor item contract exists. We heard from you that when you have vendor item contracts, remembering when one existed and selecting to use it was causing a number of buys to occur at a higher price because the buyers were not remembering to go look and select the contract. So now we're notifying the buyers of valid contracts by doing a reverse image notification to that buyer in interchange requisitions and suggested order maintenance. So this is interchange requisitions on the detail review screen. You can see at the bottom the reverse image of the contract field header when a contract exists. This is the suggested order maintenance screen on the detail review screen, and you can see again the contract field heading is in reverse image when a contract exists. And suggested orders centralized warehouse screen, reverse image contracts exist is now displayed at the header for you for review. Display vendor cost for vendor item information through the inquiries. This is a great idea. I really like this one. We heard that you needed the option to easily see the vendor's cost rather than having to select each line in vendor to open the specific vendor item information inquiry screen. We've provided you with a function key to toggle between the vendor number and cost or toggle between the vendor name and cost. So let's take a peek. The original window is the one in the back, the full-size screen, and it shows you, I searched for a specific item, item A500 I think is what I picked, and you can see that I get item A500 from two vendors, the Paper Supply and KM Corporation. So when I press my new function key, the overlay shows you the toggle that I now know the cost for each of those vendors separately. And then, of course, there's an additional toggle to change between your local currency and your trading currency when international currency is displayed. Thank you for attending the Distribution A+ 10.02 Enhancements presentation, and we can open it up for questions. Brian, I put them all to sleep.
I mean, Brian's been answering questions as they go along, so Brian, you don't see any new ones, do you?
Just responding to the last one right now.
Taking all our fun out of it, Brian.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm good with it.
Gail just covered it so well that, she answered all the questions as we went, basically.
But Brian, if any of the questions that got asked, if you think it's worthwhile rereading them for the benefit of everybody else, this would be a good time to do it.
Kristen asked about the security for the hazmat, who's going to be able to use it. I responded with, it was only going to be limited to selected when it goes out. So she says she's going to have to make a note of that to her users, install it. Then Dave said that he had the IT guys turn up the resources on our demo A+ and was able to easily show A+ Web without any problems with delay. So it was good to hear. That's it.
Okay. Well, you know, you did go a little bit over. It's 3:03 right now, so this is probably a good time to call it a day. But Dale and Dave and Brian, thank you very much for doing the webinar. It's so full of information. And then Rhea, welcome as the new A+ Network leader, and thank you for being the host here today.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.